China's $1.40 trillion gamble a bold response to economic crisis. In an unprecedented move, China has unveiled a substantial $1.4 trillion stimulus package to address the severe economic challenges it faces. The package, which spans 5 years, is primarily designed to tackle the growing burden of local government debt, referred to as hidden debt, which has strained China's financial system for years. This hidden debt largely stems from local governments' use of financing vehicles that bypass official restrictions, borrowing massive sums to fund infrastructure projects. The total amount of hidden debt is estimated at around $2 trillion by the end of 2023, and the new debt swap program aims to reduce this to $320 billion by 2028. These measures, which include annual special bonds totaling $540 billion over 5 years, are intended to ease the debt burden and free up funds for supporting economic growth. While the stimulus package represents a significant step to alleviate pressure on local authorities, it has not met the expectations of many investors who had hoped for more direct fiscal support. The initial reactions were mixed, with markets showing concern that the debt swap program alone may not be sufficient to stimulate broader economic growth. Investors are still waiting for further monetary or fiscal measures, especially given the looming risk of a renewed trade war with the United States under a potential second term of former President Donald Trump. The global fallout, how China's crisis impacts the U.S. and beyond. As China navigates these economic challenges, the consequences extend well beyond its borders. The scale of this stimulus package, aimed at resolving hidden debts and stabilizing local government finances, will have significant global repercussions, particularly for American consumers and businesses. The impact on the American citizen. The United States is heavily integrated into global trade, and China's economic stability plays a critical role in American markets. The new measures in China could have both positive and negative effects. On the one hand, stabilizing China's economy may reduce uncertainties in global supply chains, ensuring that United States businesses continue to access affordable Chinese imports, especially in electronics, machinery, and consumer goods. However, the restructuring of China's local government debt may also result in fiscal tightening, which could ultimately limit demand for American exports. If China's stimulus efforts do not sufficiently boost domestic demand, United States exporters could see a drop in Chinese orders, impacting everything from high-tech goods to agricultural products. Furthermore, a renewed trade war, particularly with the looming threat of tariffs under a Trump administration, could add significant pressure on United States consumers. Higher tariffs would directly increase the prices of many Chinese imports, from smartphones to clothing, raising the cost of living for American households. Additionally, China's real estate slump has already constrained local government revenues, which may necessitate further austerity measures and reduce the purchasing power of Chinese consumers, negatively impacting United States exports. Global consequences. Beyond the immediate impact on the United States, China's debt reduction measures will reverberate across the globe. As one of the largest economies in the world, China's financial health is closely tied to global trade dynamics. If the stimulus package succeeds in stabilizing China's fiscal system, it may ease concerns about a broader global economic slowdown. However, if the measures fall short, the repercussions could be severe for nations that depend on trade with China. For example, countries in Africa and Southeast Asia, which rely heavily on Chinese investment and infrastructure projects, could see a significant slowdown in funding. If China is forced to divert resources to address its own financial issues, these countries could experience delays or cancellations of critical infrastructure projects, which could stunt their economic growth and development. Moreover, China's role as a major consumer of raw materials means that a slowdown in its growth could reduce global demand for commodities such as oil, copper, and steel. Countries in Latin America and Africa that rely on exports of raw materials to China could experience significant economic setbacks. A global economic slowdown triggered by China's debt crisis could lead to increased unemployment, falling wages, and lower growth in many emerging markets. Trump's return and China's economic crossroads, the clash of giants. China's stimulus package, though significant, falls short of the bold measures many had hoped for, especially in light of the rising political and economic uncertainty linked to the United States presidential election. With former President Donald Trump threatening to impose high tariffs on Chinese exports should he win a second term in 2024, China's leadership seems to be reserving its fiscal strategies for a potential trade showdown. This cautious approach reflects the complex balancing act China faces managing its mounting local government debts while preparing for the economic fallout of a possible renewed trade war. China's leaders unveiled a debt swap plan to tackle the growing burden of hidden local government debts. By allowing local governments to issue bonds to replace the riskier hidden debts accumulated through local government financing vehicles, China hopes to stabilize its financial system. However, this measure, while significant, has been perceived as too limited to spur the broader economic recovery investors are hoping for. The debt swap program, worth $1.4 trillion over 5 years, will only address a fraction of the economic challenges China faces, particularly its ongoing struggles with deflation, poor demographics, and slow economic growth. In the context of a second Trump administration, this stimulus strategy becomes even more crucial. If Trump proceeds with his threats to impose heavy tariffs on Chinese goods, the economic pressure on both nations could intensify. While China's fiscal plans may stabilize local government finances, they do little to address the broader economic slowdown or deflation, which could hurt global trade and increase geopolitical tensions. Investors and policymakers are watching closely, waiting for any signs of a shift in China's approach, whether through further fiscal stimulus or a more direct response to the potential trade war with the United States. By holding back on more aggressive measures, China risks leaving its economy underused, with its labor force and capital not fully engaged. While this approach may seem prudent in preparing for future challenges, it could also lead to wasted resources, delaying the economic recovery that China desperately needs, particularly in the face of Trump's looming trade threats. If China is to navigate the twin challenges of domestic economic reform and international trade pressures, it may need to reconsider its current strategy to avoid a deeper economic slump. The hidden debt crisis: how China's local governments are struggling. The growing burden of local government debt is compounded by declining revenue sources. As property values have fallen and the real estate sector continues to struggle, local governments are finding it increasingly difficult to generate revenue from land sales. This revenue shortfall has led many local authorities to borrow more, pushing them further into debt. The government's attempt to resolve this issue with the $1.4 trillion stimulus package is an effort to ease the pressure, but it may not fully address the long-term revenue challenges that local governments face. In addition to the real estate downturn, China's response to the COVID-19 pandemic has further strained local government finances. The pandemic forced local governments to allocate significant resources to control the spread of the virus, resulting in increased public spending. These expenses, combined with the loss of income from land sales, have created a fiscal gap that local governments are struggling to fill. The debt swap program is one attempt to close that gap, but it remains to be seen whether it will be enough to restore fiscal health. The global economic domino effect: how China's troubles could trigger a worldwide slowdown. The global economy is deeply interconnected, and China's fiscal challenges have far-reaching implications. If China's debt crisis continues to escalate, it could trigger a broader global recession. For instance, China's slowdown in demand for raw materials and consumer goods would hurt exporters in countries like Brazil, Russia, and Australia, which rely heavily on Chinese demand for commodities. A slowdown in global trade could also disrupt supply chains, increasing costs for businesses around the world. Moreover, China's position as a major holder of United States government debt means that any significant changes in its fiscal situation could affect United States financial markets. A reduction in China's holdings of United States bonds could lead to higher interest rates in the United States, which would make borrowing more expensive for American households and businesses. This could slow down domestic consumption and investment, further weakening the United States economy. The trade war threat: how United States-China tensions could reignite the global economy. As China works to resolve its debt crisis, it faces significant risks. The country's fiscal policies will have a direct impact on global trade dynamics, particularly in light of ongoing geopolitical tensions. If the United States and China enter into a renewed trade war, the effects could be devastating for both economies. United States businesses would face higher costs due to tariffs, and Chinese exports could suffer as trade barriers restrict market access. This trade war could also exacerbate the economic downturn in China, leading to further job losses and lower consumer demand. The road ahead: can China's stimulus save its economy and the global market? As China grapples with its economic challenges, the road ahead remains uncertain. The new $1.4 trillion stimulus package represents a significant step, in addressing the country's fiscal crisis, but the underlying structural issues may require more than just financial support. If China's policies fail to stimulate sustained growth, the consequences could be far-reaching for the global economy. For American citizens, the outcome of China's debt restructuring and economic policies will directly affect jobs, prices, and the broader financial landscape. The interconnected nature of the global economy means that China's future trajectory will continue to influence the world's economic fate. And that's the end of today's video. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon to enable notifications so you never miss a new video. Your support means a lot, and I look forward to sharing more content with you soon. See you next time.